Good morning, everyone. Vlad Strokan. You know, for me personally, it all starts with the family. They're the ones who support us during difficult times and put up with our complaints. On this slide, you see my precious family, my wife Lilia, my children Matthew and Carolina, and our recent addition, a furry friend Lexi, on the slide. Raised in seaport city of Sevastopol on the Crimean Peninsula in Ukraine. So what brought us here? Well, thanks to parents and the U.S. government, my mother won what's called the Diversity Immigrant Visa Program. I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's also known as Green Card Lottery. So my parents strongly believed that America was the land of opportunities, not so much for them, but for their children. When we came to the U.S. in 1999, we practically had no money, and I had to work nights at a restaurant as a busboy to help my parents pay bills and support a family. So I would go to school in the morning. Education is important. My late father, who was my role model, he was a big believer in education and thought it was critical to a person's professional success. And I completely bought into it. I went on and I got my degree from Baruch. I passed all 4 parts of CPA exam by the end of 2008, and I received my license thereafter. Grad school came 13 years later. And thanks to my employer, I got full ride for a master's degree in taxation at Pace. And this slide shows the timeline and so now back to the employment. Tarlow hired me out of school in 2006. I'm very grateful to the firm for giving me this chance and helping me grow professionally and investing in my future. So who are we? What is Tarlow? Tarlow, we're 40+ team members. There's 7 partners. We have 16 industry specialties, and we provide 20 different services. We speak over 5 languages, so we're a pretty diverse group of people for this amount of individuals. And we have clients in 20 different states. On the next slide, you'll see my practice areas. This is industries. This is where I mainly have my clients. Deal with attorneys, with healthcare individuals. We have manufacturing companies, nonprofits, real estate and construction presence. And on the right side, you see the services that I provide to these clients. This is typical to the accounting firm, a public accounting firm. So that's the type of services. So on the next slide, the practice is segmented in 2 major areas. It's accounting and assurance and tax and consulting. Okay, on the accounting and assurance, a major area of that is audits. So what is an audit? When we perform an audit, we're testing accuracy of financial statements and whether they're fairly stated, the numbers whether they're fairly stated. So management of the company is still responsible for putting financials together. It's our job to render an opinion on those numbers and whether they're fairly stated. So what do? We go in and we test every material account on the balance sheet for accuracy, misstatements, and fraud. And a lot of people have a misconception that we look for fraud. I mean, it's part of it, but it's not only. There's different engagements for that. So when we give our opinion on the financials, they can range from everything is good to everything is okay, except for to things that are not good and companies operating on the going concern. If the things are really bad, we may not even be able to issue our opinion. We may have to walk away from the engagement if the company does not take necessary steps to correct issues identified during the audit. So audits take up a considerable amount of time depending on the size of the company. And as you can imagine, they can be very costly. So audits are pretty serious stuff, obviously. We are peer reviewed once every 3 years by a similar accounting firm. They come in and they check our work, review our work papers, our procedures, documentation, and they write up a report on us. So that peer review can be suicide for a public accounting firm, and it could ruin your reputation you build over the years. So therefore, we don't cut corners. We conduct our audits by the book in accordance with auditing standards. So you ask a question, who needs an audit, right? Well, it's mostly public companies that have large bank loans, companies with many shareholders, and companies with outside investors. Outside investors, they want to make sure that the funds are being spent appropriately, right? Another area is reviews. We do reviews. It's sort of like an audit, but much less in scope. Again, even though we don't provide an opinion for reviews, we still provide limited assurance that there are no material modifications required to be made. So it's basically nothing has come to our attention that requires material adjustments to the financial statements or financial numbers. To the numbers. So we test, but not to the depth that we go with audits. And lastly, I think it's worth mentioning compilations. They're very, very popular, but they don't provide any assurance whatsoever. And it's just compiling information is organizing your books and records in the acceptable format for management. They're just providing supplementing management reporting. On the tax side, and after about 6 years of my professional path, I transitioned to tax and consulting. Though I'm still involved with my audit team, I still go on engagements, as you know, and I still go see our audit clients. A lot of times we do both audit and tax in the for closely held businesses. You're allowed to do that. So, it kind of overlaps tax and audit. So, there are quarterly types of tax returns, annual types of tax returns, and monthly. So monthly and quarterly, they're payroll and indirect taxes. We don't really do that anymore. We outsource it. So on the annual side, you know too well. It's personal tax returns, corporate, partnership, nonprofit, fiduciary, estate, and gift tax returns. So at Tarlow, through tax planning, we strive to make sure that all our clients are covered come year end. We do this by running projections quarterly and advising the client as to what they should be paying in to the government. The time to plan is throughout the year. It's continuous, not in December. You should always be aware of your tax situation. More importantly, be in control of it. Okay. So what are the potential clients? How you get me to meet those potential clients? Okay. Well, the chance that somebody walks up to you and says, you know what, I hate my accountant. They're awful. It's pretty slim, right? What should you be listening for? Well, if somebody's talking about owning a lot of taxes at year end, and it is a surprise to them, would they have benefited from proper tax planning? Well, I'm sure they would. If they mention that they're on extension continuously, year after year, why they're on extension? Did they not have all the information yet? Or is this something they're just not getting level of service they deserve? Somebody starting a new business, do they have an accountant? As Bob Kern can tell you, that the two most important assets you can have on your side when starting a new business is a good lawyer and a good CPA. I don't want to downplay any other professions. Obviously, they're as equally important. Some potential clients may file their own personal returns at year end. Maybe it's becoming overwhelming to them. Maybe they're missing out on deductions they could be capitalizing on and getting back money. If they say that they're sitting down with bucks of tax information to go through, ask them, why put yourself through that when I know a great CPA that can help you out? This leads me to my last point. I need everybody in this group to get to know me better. Ask me questions. Have a tax concern, shoot me an email. I'm always willing to talk, get on the phone, see how fast I'm to respond, and if information I'm responding with is helpful. It's a lot easier to refer somebody that you know and trust than it's refer a guy I kind of know from my networking group. On the next slide, you'll see potential referrals and introductions. We deal with a lot with international businesses and international individuals. They may have, they might create presence in the United States, so they might have a compliance issue. Individuals, same thing. They live spend over 183 days in the States. They might have to be filing tax returns. Small family business owners, startups, as I mentioned, new businesses, tax attorneys. We work a lot with C-suite level individuals. And lastly, as my tagline states, at Tarlow Co, we offer big firm quality with a touch of small personal service. It has been working for the last 75 years, and I intend to make it work for at least the next 30. Thank you, everyone.